What's up, everybody? Brett here, back today. It's Friday. So you know what that means. We're going to get some more Blazing Deserts DLC news. This time it's going to be another much longer video here from Overhyped Studios. Thank you so much for providing this for us to peruse. There's a good bit of information in here, and we're going to take our time just like last week and kind of sort through the video for the pertinent information. Of course, I did not make this video. I don't want to use the audio from it. My goal will just be to try and be a bit more concise and to show you guys what I think is the most relevant of the information from it. So, Blazing Deserts DLC Review Part 2. Welcome to the second part of our preview video series on the upcoming Blazing Deserts DLC. We continue with a look at the new Retinue feature and the Manhunter's origin, and fight a few nomads at one of their desert camps. If you missed the first part of our preview series, you can find it here. Okay, and it will be released on August 13th for the price of $15. Got it. All right, let's go full screen here and skip through. The first bit is just the gentleman speaking, and the part we want to get to here, there we go. We finally get a look at the Retinue Screen, which you've kind of seen before, but one of the things that he talks about is the fact that you start off with one free slot, which you can put a follower into, and then there are 4 other slots, so 5 in total that you get access to for a total of 5 followers, as well as the wagon. So what I didn't know is how you were able to unlock these slots, and apparently it's all tied to your renown, which I like a lot, because what that does, and I can just go ahead and hit play and we'll see where it goes while I talk, but what that does is it makes the renown mechanic more involved in the game, which is something that I like. It gives you yet another reason to keep track of your renown and to follow it. He hovered over the wagon for a second just to show that it costs 10 grand to upgrade it. So it seems to me no longer will you need to do, let's go ahead and pause it here so we can read this. No longer will you need to do different types of ambitions in order to upgrade your cart tied with a bunch of money. Instead, you could simply upgrade your cart for money instead. So some people might think that's a good quality of life change. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I kind of like the ambitions, but we'll see. In practical sense, it's probably just easier and better to upgrade your cart with money. So the first follower we're going to get a look at here is the Recruiter. The Recruiter is a sleazy jawsmith that tricks desperate people into joining a mercenary company to escape their poor lives, only to find their demise. Quite useful for anyone running a mercenary company. So he also said that you start off with 1 slot unlocked. Not quite sure if I said that already. I don't know if you start with the Recruiter, but he's probably quite easy to get. Makes you pay 10% less upfront for hiring new men and 50% less for tryouts. That makes tryouts much better. That's a part of the game that I thought that was neat that they added, but in practicality, I almost never used it unless I was about to make an enormous, like, 5,000 gold, brother recruitment for some sort of hedge knight who is geared or something like that, and you want to really make sure he's good. But that's great, and makes between 2 and 4 additional men available to recruit in every settlement. That's awesome. Hopefully it'll help us to alleviate the times when we're looking for a specific type of character, a hunter maybe to use as an archer, or, in the later game we just really want to get hedge knights, let's say, much more likely to spawn them. So that's great. We're going to fast forward here as he will go into the menu where you can actually get the followers. I'm just skipping ahead slowly to make sure we don't miss anything. Yeah, he talks about the free seats. And then the next one will be upgraded when he hits Fabled status. I think that was 3,350. Yeah, that's quite a bit of renown. So don't look to unlock all 5 seats until very late in your campaign, that's for sure. Which is kind of, I don't know how good that is. Because I don't know if all my campaigns are going to go to like the mega late status. But here we get a good look at the follower menu. So there are a lot more followers than I thought there would be. I think he says there are 18 in total, which is quite a bit. Right now, he's not going to hover over all of them, so I'm not going to bother, micro skipping around. Starting off with the Alchemist, I'll read this and then we can kind of just let it play. The Alchemist is knowledgeable in crafting all kinds of mysterious contraptions and concoctions from exotic ingredients when given access to taxidermist equipment. So it shows you here they have a requirement, they have an upfront cost, and then they have their effect, right? So in order to unlock the Alchemist, you need to have crafted 15 items at the taxidermist. That's quite a bit. And then he has an upfront cost of $2,500, so not the most expensive. As you can see, the negotiator here is $3,000. And then his effect, I think, is awesome. It may lead to some really cool company designs, maybe company compositions, where we get a chance to use a lot of potions finally. Reduces crafting cost by 90%. That's awesome. You still probably will need the ingredients, of course, which in a way is sort of robbing you. But once you have the ingredients, you don't need to pay very much at all to make those potions and things. So I could see doing a build where you make a lot of potions and try to make that part of your campaign. So let's let it play. We've got the Cartographer here. I think we've had a bit of a look at that character before. I saw the Lookout there, Paymaster. Whoa. We've got the Brigand, which I don't think we've seen before. I think his deal is he gets you more from sacking caravans. We got the Blacksmith, the Drill Sergeant, who's someone we're going to look at in a bit. The Trader. You see some of the artwork isn't quite there yet. We've got the Agent, which takes 4,000 to unlock. It looks to be the most expensive of the followers. Oh, no, there was another one that was a little more expensive. Let's back up just a bit here. Negotiator. I missed it again. That's okay. He's going to scroll down in a second. We've got the Scout, the Lookout. See if he goes to another area. All right, the Minstrel. That's an interesting character. So the Bounty Hunter. That's the other big one, who I think he does go over as well. So the Minstrel. In order to unlock it, you have to visit all 22 settlements. He's $2,000 up front. And what he does is he makes you earn 10% more renown with every action. So getting him unlocked soon would be great if you're trying to get as much renown as you can so that you can unlock other characters. He makes tavern rumors more likely to contain useful information. That's cool as well. It doesn't give you a percentage, but hopefully it's a substantial one. It says, a good song and story play a large part in creating the reputation of a company. The minstrel is a master of these crafts and will help to spread the word about your deeds to all ears willing to hear them out. Geralt of Rivia can attest to the usefulness of the minstrel. So we've got the cook. Let's see. The bounty hunter, I think he's going to talk about, even if he doesn't hover over him at all. I hope he does. I'm trying to remember. It's a long video to kind of just be skimming. I think he might just mention what he does. The bounty hunter, if you... Let's see. He may go over him. Yeah, he might not. So the bounty hunter is... You know what? Let's hold off. Let's do the scavenger first and we'll see if he goes over it. Whether the son of one of your men or an urchin you took pity on, the scavenger pulls his weight by collecting bits and pieces from every battlefield. Recovers a part of all the ammo you use during battle, which is great because I use a hell of a lot of ammo in my compositions. Recovers tools and supplies from every armor destroyed after battle. That's cool. So tools is great. Requirements is to have a heart. Interesting. Upfront 3,000. So I wonder if there'll be an event where it's like there's a little boy and you have to decide whether or not to take some money and hurt him or something like that, or to let him go and he'll join you as the scavenger. If I had to imagine, that would be the scenario. So we'll see if he goes over the bounty hunter. We skip slowly through. It doesn't look like he will. So, oh no, maybe. Come on, click on it. He goes over the surgeon. Okay. So the surgeon is a walking tome of anatomical knowledge. A mercenary company seems the perfect place both to apply that knowledge in healing, but also to learn more about how the insides of men are made up. Makes every man without a permanent injury guaranteed to survive an otherwise fatal blow. So once you already have a permanent injury, that chance goes away. And makes every injury take one less day to heal. That's nice. He requires treated 5 out of 5 men with injuries at a temple. So you got to go to the temple a lot. I'm usually able just to deal with injuries. I do like having a lower chance to lose brothers the first time they fall. That's quite nice, but I could see myself passing on the surgeon quite often. Show me the bounty hunter. That's the new one. That's the new tech. There we go. All right. So this colorful bounty hunter has a pocket full of contracts on the most dangerous individuals. He knows how to get them from hiding and will pay handsomely for any bounty fulfilled. Significantly increases the chance of encountering champions, which is something that I want in my playthroughs, especially in the late game. and then pays between 300 and 750 crowns for every champion slain. That's cool. In time, he could pay for himself. Now, the Scavenger seems to me to be one of those characters, or one of those followers, who will easily pay for himself in the long run. Just like the Alchemist, if you intend to use like a lot of grenades, let's say, you could end up making tons and tons of grenades for 90% off. In the end, he pays for himself, right? The Bounty Hunter seems to be able to do the same thing. In order to unlock him, though, 4,000 gold up front, and then your requirements are to have 3 named or legendary items in your possession, which isn't that hard to get. I've had runs where I get 3 named items within the first, 75 days. Now, I'm not saying that'll happen, and it's been a long time since I've gotten that lucky. But you could very easily, I could see you getting access to this character somewhat early on in sort of the early mid-game of your campaign, but more realistically, this is a late-game guy who will let you hunt down champions who, for the most part, you honestly don't even want to fight in the early to mid-game, because champions of the wrong caliber, of the higher caliber, can definitely kill your brothers quite easily. So I would not want to face a champion orc, for instance. I want to say I've killed a champion orc warlord before, which has got to be one of the scariest enemies in the game for sure. I know I've killed a champion warrior and taken his axe, but I'm pretty sure I either fought a champion warlord and couldn't win that fight because there was like 40 orcs plus a warlord plus a champion warlord. I think that might have been how that fight went, but I feel like maybe I persevered in that fight. I don't care what your company is. If you're fighting like 40 orcs and they've got multiple warlords and one of them is a champion, brothers are going to die. I almost can't think of a single composition you could use in order to make that better. Alright, buy a wagon. Sadly, you cannot afford the 10,000 crowns necessary to buy a wagon and gain more inventory space at this time. So it lets you down easy. That's nice. Alright, so he used his money to purchase the characters. Alright, so the next part here is the company origin. They show 2 of them. Southern Mercenaries. They don't actually show it, but this is one of the new ones. And it's basically, to my understanding, it's just like starting a new company in the north, except you're doing it in the south. So the Manhunters are the ones they're going to be showcasing here. Constant conflict between city-states and nomads makes for good business. The bulk of your outfit are captives, forced to fight to earn their freedom, and their ranks grow after each battle. Army of captives. Start with 2 Manhunters and 4 indebted. Take up to 16 men into battle at once. Having fewer indebted than non-indebted will make your men dissatisfied. So yeah, you've got to have more slave drivers than slaves is the idea. I like that they changed up the wording. Slaves is definitely an ugly word at this day and age, but historically, nothing wrong with saying the word slaves. Overseers, all non-indebted men, whip indebted in combat to reset their morale and buff their stats. So any man you pick up who's not a slave character, I guess automatically becomes an overseer. And then captives, indebted earn 25% less experience, are capped at level 7, and will die if struck down. Interesting. So they don't have a chance to get an injury. I wonder if this is countered at all by the surgeon. Probably not, though. This is probably overrides the surgeon. Capped at level 7 means they're never going to be powerhouses, and it'll take them a long time to get to their max level of 7, thanks to this minus 25% less experience. And having the overseers have the ability to whip them may help. But the big thing that balances it is definitely the fact that you can have 16 men in your party. So you get an extra 4 men in order to make up for the fact that you're going to have a lot of lower level characters. So Holy War is the new late game crisis. You have to conquer the 3 holy sites. And, you know, it doesn't really matter much of who you're fighting for. You're going to look at one of these new banners. It's pretty cool. And then we also get to see Unexplored Map, the new setting here. An optional way to play the game where the map is entirely unexplored and not visible to you at the start of your campaign. You'll have to discover everything on your own, and contracts may send you to settlements that you've never been to and to which you're only given vague directions. Recommended only for experienced players that know what they're doing. I'm going to use Unexplored Map for my first playthrough. I'm excited to do it. I think it'll add a little bit of richness to the game. So here's the beginning of the Manhunters campaign. We can read this together. Give us A little bit of flavor. So constant conflict between nomads, city-states, and vagabonds makes for good business. Deserters, criminals, prisoners of war, and indebted alike flee across the land, and you, with manacle in hand, give chase. Despite the barren wastes upon which they rule, the southern realms are home to large and ever-shifting populations, which makes personhood itself a resource worth harvesting. The river-like flow of persons is as natural an economy as any raw material. Prisoners of war make up the bulk of your outfit, beaten men who must submit to you and fight for another force, your own. Criminals and general riffraff fill in here and there, easy pickings for smaller villages who don't have the means to handle their resident reprobates. And then there are the indebted, hellfire-doomed souls who must work their way back into the Guilder's gleam and find salvation through blood, sweat, and tears. While most must work as laborers, you favor pressing them into your company. The indebted will not protest, for even the priests state it must be within the Guilder's sublime vision that they will find penitence in the Battle Brothers. Everyone can earn salvation by working off their debt to the Guilder. And I've wondered before whether or not you were able to free men and have them join you, I guess, as overseers would be the general idea. So he takes a look here at the characters that you start with, Mutar the Stoic and whatever this guy's name is, Tamim the Whip. And you can see he actually has a whip. But he's going to hover over their background here. In a sense, you don't particularly care for Mutar. He's not hateful nor forgiving toward the prisoners of war, criminals, and the like. He just handles his business. But he's also this calm, unwavering way with you. And it's a bit bothersome. The man has so much potential, which is why you have him on board for the Battle Brothers. But you just wished he showed some passion now and again. So their stats are okay. This guy's got all the resolve. Potentially he's your sergeant as the Stoic. That makes a lot of sense. And then he goes to your slaves here, the Northerner, the Deserter. And they have the indebted background. So, not a friendly man by any means, but that's what the shackles are for. Eric was on the chopping block for a series of crimes when you happened upon him. You paid for his life as an investment, stating that he now owed hard work to found salvation in the Guilder's eyes. He's not so sure of your earnest beliefs, but you paid a priest to confirm that the man indeed owes his sweat to a higher sublimity. Alright. Minus 25% experience gain, limited to level 7, is permanently dead if struck down and will not survive with a permanent injury. No morale check triggered for non-indebted allies upon dying. So that's good. So as your slaves die, it doesn't trigger some sort of like chain route. And he's always content with being in reserve. So there's some boons there, but they're not very strong to counteract how bad the negatives actually are. Alright, we'll click forward here. And then we can read the Crack the Whip ability. So, remind your indebted of who their master is by giving them a good whipping, so that they give their all, up to and including their very life. Cost 4 AP, builds up 15 fatigue, pretty standard. It deals tiny damage, and it ignores armor. Gives the targeted indebted the whip status effect, increasing many of their stats for 2 turns. The higher the level of the character using this skill, the higher the increase. That's very interesting too. So once your overseers get higher level, you can. It basically makes it so that it's faster to pick up new slaves and get them to be good, because you'll be whipping them with an experienced overseer, which will in turn give much better buffs. And it returns them to the steady morale, which is good. So okay, so once you're maxed out on your overseers, if you start losing a lot of slaves from different battles. Yeah, you can get back up and running much faster. You'll be able to take a level 1 guy, give him your decent equipment, whip him at the start of the battle, and then he'll fight as if he's a much higher level character. And there's always a turn at the beginning of battle. It says the stats last for 2 turns. If you can whip a bunch of your indebted, the turn before combat clashes, you could really have something there. It's going to be interesting to see how certain, there are high-level players out there making videos. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of solve the problem of using the indebted and the overseers. So let's read this mission here for fun, just to get a bit more of the flavor. There are no horns, no confetti, no cheers, but there's still yet a certain level of pomp when you enter Omar Al-Fad, the Vizier of War's Room. It is so decorated with golds and silvers, intricate jewelries made by genuine craftsmen, and a harem of nothing but the most attractive women, that one can't help but be spurred to do whatever is asked, if only to have a chance to partake in the seemingly day-to-day festivities. Omar Al-Fad, the Vizier of War, sits upon a pile of cushions. "Ah, Crownling, I've been expecting you. Please come no closer. You will scare my attractions. I have a simple task for you. Nomads have been plundering my caravans. Hereat, I am with fewer coins in my coffers. I'm sure you understand what it's like to be deprived of in any manner, yes? And you seem so dumb, so blank, so well involved in what you do. I need those nomads killed, and I'm willing to pay 1,100 crowns to have it done. Does this language please whatever resides between those ears?" Wow, insulting much. Alright. So this is where he leads into a battle with the nomads, who seem to be the primary enemies that you'll face in the deserts. He's going to this tent city here. Let's go. We'll jump into a fight where he talks a bit about how they added in some of the newer doodads on the map. Very few things will be blocking your movement. He hovered over the cooking pot and the table. This chest here will block movement. Big fat cushions. And as you go to like make your movement, you'll be able to see with like red shapes, you know, what's blocking and what's not. That's kind of the gist of what he's talking about now. Alright. So there are different units here that he'll be facing. Tier 1 and Tier 2, basically consider them thugs, raiders. And then you've got in the back here with the slings and archers. You've got basically the equivalent of marchers, archers and poachers. So let's just kind of scoot forward a little bit here. Yeah, outlaws being the lowest tier, or I think the mid tier. Outlaws are more like raiders, while cutthroats are more like thugs. And the language checks out. They're going to move forward. You can see some of them are pretty well equipped, it looks like. Decent shields. Looks like perhaps Tier 2 weaponry and arms and armor. The guy playing, you know, his gear is pretty legit, it seems. Not all of his brothers are super well kitted. But some of these guys, he's got the hyena pelt, which looks awesome. He's already got like the bones attachment on this character, who looks to be wearing unique armor, as well as a pretty legit looking helmet. He's got a couple famed bits of gear here and there. Got a Kopesh on that guy. But let's see. So he's going to talk about a few interesting things here. The enemy is going to use pocket sand at some point, and I'll never stop calling it pocket sand because I think that's just the appropriate name. And they're going to apply the distracted debuff, which lowers your damage and initiative, which I wish our brothers could use that ability as well, as long as we're fighting. As long as our brother is standing on a sand tile, I feel like I should be able to throw sand as well, which would help a lot. And there we go. He threw sand there, and we'll wait for him. He'll hover over it. It gives the distracted debuff. I think he shows it in a second what the actual... Yeah, there we go. So this character was on the receiving end of a dirty trick, distracted for one more turns. They are slower to react and have a harder time landing clean strikes. So it's 35% damage and 35% initiative. I don't know if I said 50-50, but 35-35 is what it is. All right. So neat little trick there. Would be nice if we could do that as well. It just makes sense. And if we ever were to fight, you know, a really dangerous enemy or surround someone, just like we do when we fight other enemies, we fight, like, say, we take out an entire company of guys, we leave their hedge knight for last so we can surround him and stab him with daggers and take his armor. It'd be nice if some person could throw sand on him and prevent his initiative and his damage. I love looking at the hyena pelt. I think that looks pretty sweet. Very similar to, of course, the direwolf pelts. And we can skip forward here. And I think that's it, guys. That's going to be it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. I know this video probably wasn't much shorter than the actual video itself, but I read a lot more of the stuff than he did. I focused more on the finer details and perhaps maybe even the greater overarching strategies that you could use. But just on a side note, I contacted Overhype Studios once again. I sent them another email asking for perhaps early access, press credentials, whatever it is they're offering. You do it here through the press kit from what I've seen. But, oh yeah, you get a little look at some of the recent videos I've been watching. I watch a lot of Magic the Gathering stuff, and I like the occasional podcast. But guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much. My name is Brett. As always, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.